You need to destroy your weak brain. And today is your full guide on how to destroy the weak part of your brain. If you don't already know me, my name is Nick, and I help young men to achieve their goals faster and become better than everyone else. So if you want to become better than everyone else, subscribe. Alright, so let's begin. Let me introduce you to your brain because you don't know how your brain works. So, you have two sides of your brain. You have something called the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. As you can see there, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is the good part of your brain. It wants you to grow. It wants you to achieve your goals. The amygdala is the weak part of your brain that has kept you mediocre, maybe even below mediocre this entire time. You've wanted to become better than everyone else, but you've not been able to. And the reason is you have your amygdala and it's humongous. It is huge. And you need to destroy the amygdala. So it's weak, lack of goals. Goals is lazy, and that's the amygdala, right? So now let me give you like an example of how this is like in real life, right? So for example, you are about to do a good habit, for example, going to the gym. Your amygdala will usually pipe up if you're not experienced in this yet, if you're not experienced in self-improvement just yet. I'm here to give you experience, like my experience, right? And make you faster and better at your craft and just improve faster, right? But you're not at that level just yet. So your amygdala will most likely pipe up and give you some type of excuse to not do the habit, like the habit that you know for a fact will help you. For example, like going to the gym, maybe recording videos. Your amygdala will pipe up and it will say, like, it will make up very like reasonable, like it will seem reasonable, but it's not really, excuses to just avoid doing the hard work. Now, this, you can't do anything about it. For example, like you can't like physically destroy your amygdala. It's impossible, right? Because it is your evolutionary right. It is your brain that has evolved from millions of years. But you know what you can do? You can grow the prefrontal cortex. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to grow the prefrontal cortex, because this is the part of your brain that will help you achieve any goal that you want, because it will give you so much discipline, and discipline is doing the things that you don't feel like doing, especially when you don't feel like doing them, right? And that is, I made a separate video on discipline, so you should go watch that. I'm not going to go into that tangent right now. I'm going to tell you like actionable steps, because I am a no BS YouTuber. Like, I will give you advice that you don't want to hear, but it will actually help you, right? You don't want this advice, but you need this advice, right? So, your prefrontal cortex. How do you grow it? You need to first and foremost start doing the fundamental, basic, foundational habits. This is how you start self-improvement. I will make it extremely simple, especially because it's the new year and you want to improve yourself. You've got New Year's resolutions wrote down somewhere. You've got your goals. You can achieve them goals. Don't make this a year that is simply just like the others, like 2025, 2024, 2023. You had the same resolutions, you had similar goals, and you never achieved them because you just fell off. You just always slack. And the reason for that is because your amygdala always pipes up. It always pipes up and it makes excuses. Excuses that will limit you, right? And this is the part of your brain that you need to grow. The prefrontal cortex is the advanced part of your brain responsible for conscious action. You actually think about it. It's rational. It's decision making. It's smart. Unlike your amygdala runs on impulse. You feel like eating junk food, you eat it. You feel like scrolling, you scroll. You feel like slacking in the gym, you do it. And if you rely on your amygdala for your daily activities, you will end up mediocre. You will end up fat and you will end up just mid in everything in your life, just like you are now. So if you want to just improve, this is the secret to improving. You need to acknowledge that you have two parts of your brain, the two most important parts of your brain. You have the prefrontal cortex and you have this devil, this demon in your mind, the amygdala. And you need to destroy the amygdala. And how do you destroy the amygdala? You grow the prefrontal cortex. So how do you do that? Step by step. Start the foundational self-improvement habits. This is how you start, right? First, I'm going to explain to you dopamine. This is going to be very interesting, right? This is going to be very interesting. You have dopamine, which is the hormone of motivation. So, for example, when you want to eat junk food, you are feeling dopamine, the motivation, the drive, the desire to eat the junk food. Like, say, you see like a piece of pizza on like the table. You're feeling dopamine, an urge to eat that piece, right? Or maybe you see like a really like delicious ice cream and you want to like just demolish it. That is an urge caused by dopamine. Dopamine is the hormone of motivation. Now, this is not scientific what I'm going to tell you, but it's completely true. So you need to understand what I'm about to say. You have two types of dopamine. This is not scientific, so like don't quote me on this, right? You have two types of dopamine. You have the good type of dopamine that will give you delayed rewards, delayed gratification. I want you to really understand what that is, right? So I'm going to draw it for you. So you have good and you have bad dopamine, and you will understand what each one looks like once I draw the graph that you follow, and you will relate to this graph very, very closely. You will start to acknowledge that parts of your life where you felt like you don't know what's going on, you want to make progress, but you've never been able to make progress. Why is that? This graph that I'm about to draw, it will explain it. Let's start with the bad dopamine. Okay. So here's your graph. Say you are about to do bad dopamine is you get bad dopamine when you do bad habits. So, for example, binge eating. I used to binge eat a lot and I used to be really fat and like skinny fat. Like I used to be so ugly, like the physique was so bad. And that's because I used to binge eat. One of the biggest bad habits, I used to snack on Oreos and all of these like biscuits and ice cream and sugar. I used to be like a locust, just eat whatever I see, right? And of course, that gave me a really bad physique. Now, here's the graph, right? When you are in the pursuit of doing the bad habit, your dopamine levels will spike up. You see that initial spike, they will go up. It will go up, right? That is the pursuit. You making the pursuit of you making the journey, the destination to eat the junk food. For example, you are in your room and you suddenly get an urge to eat Oreos or like a biscuit, like a really treat, like a sweetie, right? You get the urge, and that's the initial dopamine urge, right? So when you eat it, your dopamine level, here's the peak. So I'm gonna draw the peak, and there's the peak, right? There's like the peak urge. When you finish eating, when the biscuit goes down your throat, your dopamine levels will fall below baseline. So, for example, there is your baseline. That line there is your baseline motivation, your baseline dopamine, right? That line there. Bro, I can't. Yeah, that line there, right? That is your baseline. When you eat junk food, it will go down below baseline because this is where you ate the junk food. It will go down here. And what happens there is now, because you ate the junk food, the bad habit, you've indulged and you've now completed the bad habit. Now you have a lower dopamine level than you started with, a baseline that is lower. So now you have just created a new baseline. You have just created a new baseline. You see that? That is your new baseline. Think about it. So if you want to understand why you are not motivated, is because you've been doing so many bad habits. Like at first make you feel good. That is the initial dopamine spike, right? But then your dopamine levels fall below baseline, and now you have created, with another repetition, a new baseline that now you're just lower motivation forever, basically, until you reverse it. So you've done so many bad habits that, like, let me show you your life basically. So far, before listening to me, before getting onto self-improvement, this is how your life will look. For example, here's where you started. Here's where you started. There's your first ever dopamine baseline when you were born. When you discover these bad habits like binge eating, scrolling, gooning, eating just shit food, bro, and playing video games and all of these pleasurable activities, watching anime, watching Netflix, all of these pleasurable activities, you discovered them, and now this is where your dopamine has got to. You see that? It goes from there, baseline, spike, drop, spike, drop, spike, drop. And now you just permanently have a new level of baseline. So if you want to fix this, now this is why you are never motivated. Do you understand now? Because you have done years upon years of self-damage, self-sabotage by doing these bad habits. And now this is why you need a higher level of stimulation, a higher level of like stimulus, like a higher level of pleasure to stimulate the same dopamine spike. Have you ever wondered why crackheads need progressively overloading doses of crack? Like, how come, like, for example, let me draw the graph again that you're used to now, because you understand it finally. Someone has given you the truth of how your brain really works. It all starts by understanding the fundamental hormone that governs your entire mind, and it is dopamine, right? So, let me draw a graph of a crackhead. Here's the line when he is first a crackhead. This is where he started, right? He takes crack. There's like the pleasure. Okay. And then it drops. As you know, below baseline, it drops. And now he has a new baseline. You see that? Now, because he has a new baseline, he needs a higher level of crack to elicit the same spike. Think about it. Because here's his baseline. There's his baseline. And he will only feel pleasure when he goes above baseline. So if he wants to feel the same amount of pleasure that he felt here, right? This is his initial spike. Then he's gonna have to take more crack to get to this point, and then it will have a lower baseline. Do you understand what I'm telling you here? That is why that, like, the first time someone takes crack, they will feel immense, like the high, right? But then they need a higher dose to elicit the same pleasure, the same amount of pleasure next time, because now they have a lower baseline, and the baseline that they started with is way higher. So therefore you need higher stimulus to reach the same amount of pleasure that they felt last time. This is why you don't find anything enjoyable anymore. This is why you can't focus on videos that are low dopamine right now. You are checking the comments, you are looking at sidebar videos, you are scrolling as I'm speaking to you, you are playing video games as I'm speaking to you right now. And that's because you don't have the attention span, and that's because you have destroyed your dopamine levels through these bad habits. And now you can't, your baseline of dopamine, your baseline of motivation is so low that now you can't meditate. Meditating is boring. You can't read a book without mind wandering after 2 seconds of reading a word. Most people, this is probably you, by the way, you read a book, like you read a sentence, and 2 seconds later you've forgotten what you've just read. That's because reading does not stimulate your brain anymore. Your dopamine baseline is too low to elicit pleasure from reading. Therefore, you will not do the good habits. The good habits require a baseline of dopamine that you do not have yet. This is why you can't quit scrolling. This is why you can't quit video games. This is why you are addicted to anime. And this is why every video gamer knows this. And I know this. I knew this when I was like you playing video games. This is why after you played you fried your dopamine to a certain level, no game is fun anymore. There's no video game that is fun anymore. Every video game becomes boring. Do you know why? It's basically you're the crackhead here. Just for video games. You are not much different. You stimulate, you get the initial peak in dopamine, and then it falls below baseline. And now there's no game that can stimulate you to the same amount of pleasure that you felt the first time when you played the game. And that is exactly why your dopamine levels are cooked and you have no motivation. And that is exactly why you will fail your New Year's resolutions if you don't listen to me and when I tell you how to fix your dopamine levels. My throat is getting kind of dry, so I'm going to drink water. Okay, let me continue with the immense knowledge that I've just distilled to you, and the key to growing your prefrontal cortex. It lies all in your dopamine. So now that you've understood how bad dopamine works, now let me show you how good dopamine works, and it is literally the opposite. So good dopamine. Let me start the graph again, the big graph. Here's your dopamine baseline, as you've seen. When you do a good habit, your dopamine will go down. There will be an initial drop, right? You see that initial drop in dopamine? That is your initial drop, right? And what happens when that initial drop? That's basically your brain telling you, oh, I don't really want to do that good habit right now. It's too hard. I'm not motivated. For example, you're about to go to the gym and it's you don't really feel like it. You're all groggy and you just don't want to hit that workout. That is the initial drop in motivation. Remember, you can replace dopamine with motivation. They are exactly the same thing, right? Dopamine is just a chemical messenger, a hormone in your brain that signals that you are motivated. That is all dopamine is, right? So you are not motivated currently because you are doing a good habit. And then when you complete the good habit, your dopamine will go above baseline. You see that? It goes above baseline. There. So when you're doing the bad habit, it goes down here, and this is where like you just don't really want to do it. You don't want to do it at all, and then it goes up here, and this is where you get all the pleasure. You get all the pleasure of your like the reward of your delayed gratification. And the reason why my dopamine levels are better than yours, and I can read a book and you can't, and I can meditate for hours. I can meditate for 1 hour straight and you can't. That's because I've done quite the opposite of what you've done. Here's where my baseline started. This is where my baseline started, right? I've done this. You see, my baseline has gone up, 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 up. It's gone up. Every single month I've done this, it's gone up. That's what self-improvement does to you. And now you're permanently more motivated. You are permanently more motivated to do good habits. And you don't even need motivation like other people. Like people, they watch Andrew Tate shorts and like David Goggins and they get hyped up. They get hyped up. But then it always falls off. And do you ever wonder why? Because their dopamine level is too low. You can't elicit permanent motivation with that low level of a dopamine, right? So this is what you need to start doing. And this is the key to growing your prefrontal cortex. So this video is going to help you grow your prefrontal cortex. I know it is a long video, but this is the type of video that will actually save your life. It will change your life's trajectory like it did mine, right? So if you really want to grow, become better than everyone else around you, listen to me and subscribe to my channel because I will teach you how. And it all starts with understanding the fundamental hormone that controls you. And it is dopamine. So now you've understood when you do delayed gratification, rewards that don't come instantly, but they come after the pain. It goes pain, then pleasure. Not pleasure, then pain. That's what you've been doing your entire life. You've been doing pleasure and then you've been experiencing the negative consequences of that pleasure. You ate the junk food and now you are permanently fatter. You scrolled and now you have brain fog and you can't focus. Right? So is there any reason, like, is there no, like, drive to improve your life? And if there is no drive for you to improve your life, that's solely because you've destroyed your dopamine. And how do you fix this? The first and most fundamental habit is dopamine detox. So you've heard this term before. A dopamine detox is not when you do it for 24 hours. If you do it for 24 hours, you will be average. You will be mediocre and you will not improve. You have to do it my way, which I'm going to tell you now. My way is basically you are on a lifelong detox. You should understand self-improvement is for life. It is not, it's a way of life. It is not something that you half-ass. You cannot do this like like mindlessly. You can't do that. You have to do it with intention. You have to affirm to yourself, yes, I am now on self-improvement. I want to improve my life. I don't want to be able to just scroll all the time. I don't want to do this. Like, it's not even that fun anymore. Scrolling's not fun. Like, if you're being honest, no video game stimulates you anymore. Scrolling's just kind of mid. And it's like, you've not experienced pleasure, like real serotonin pleasure, in a long time. Serotonin is the hormone that is responsible for happiness, but I'll talk about that later. So, how do you dopamine detox? First, you affirm to yourself you are going to do this for life. This is your new life now. You are never going to go back to scrolling, video games, junk food, corn, like any of these habits. You will not go back. You are a new person now. 2026, new year, new me. So you are going to become this new identity. You are no longer this person who scrolls. You are no longer this person who plays video games, who eats junk food, who goons, who does any of these bad habits. You are now a self-improvement student, right? And you will listen to intelligent people such as me, but you can listen to other people as well from books that I read. Like, I read so many books, right? And I learn so many new insights that I just condense. The whole point of this channel is to help young men like you, right? And how do you do that? You read a lot of books, you implement, and then you come back and you report. And that is exactly what I do. That is my job. My whole job is to read books, implement what the books say, try it out for myself. If it doesn't work, it doesn't. If it does, it does. And I come back, report what I've done in this like YouTube channel that I'm helping, that I'm creating a movement to help young people like you. I want you to experience the same transformation that I did. I went from a low life, degenerate gooner. Like, I used to be such a stupid retard who couldn't even focus on one sentence. I would read one sentence of a book and I would forget it the next second. I went from that to having a phone that is quite literally black and white, that has zero stimulation, no YouTube, no social media, nothing on my phone. The only apps I use is JD Gyms, which is my gym app, and like the ticket app that I use to get on buses. That is the only apps I use. So it's like, if you want to get to that level, if you want to get to the level where you are so disciplined and you have so much motivation as well, you need to follow this advice, and you cannot half-ass this video. So you've done the first step, which is acknowledge that you are now a self-improvement student. Now, second, this is for life. So now you have the identity that this shit is for life. So what do? You go on a lifelong dopamine detox. So because it's a lifelong, like, it's like lifelong sounds very long. Like, it's like, just think about it in a year long dopamine detox. Like, first, in your first year of dopamine detoxing, you will significantly improve your dopamine baselines, and after that it just becomes normal. You will never want to go back to playing video games again. I don't even get the urge to play video games again. That's because I don't find them fun anymore. Because, do you know why? Because I find the self-improvement habits fun. I find meditation fun. I find gratitude journaling fun. I find morning sunlight, going out into nature, doing sports, boxing, martial arts, playing the piano, reading. I find these habits fun. And that is why I'm successful and you're not. That is why I make more progress than you. So you can get on the same path as me and you can copy me, and you can literally replicate the same results that I've got. So because it's a year-long dopamine detox, the rules will be lenient. First off, you are not allowed to play video games. You are not allowed to eat junk food. You are not allowed to do any of these bad habits. But, and I say this once, you are going to progressively deload You are going to progressively deload. That is a very important key term that I want you to understand. Progressively deload how much bad habits you do. So I just stated the rules. You can't do this, 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 and this. But chances are you will still like be addicted to them. And how do you reduce them? You reduce them by using a progressive deload mindset. So just reduce them weekly. So for example, track how many times did you binge eat this week? And just if it's like 10 times you binge ate this week and like you ate that snacky, that sweetie that you shouldn't have, count that every single time. Count it. Be honest to yourself. If you lie to yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. Be brutally honest with yourself. If it's like 30, then fine, it's fine, bro, because you will get to a point where it's zero, like me, right? So count to yourself in a week, how many times do you do the bad habit? How many times do you like goon? And how many times do you scroll? How many times do you end up like eating junk food and playing video games? Count, right? And every week you deload it. So for example, if you played 7 hours of video games in a week, that is 1 hour a day. That's most probably not how much you play. You probably play like easily 30 hours a week. That's how much I used to play. Just reduce it. Reduce it by like the first week can be 7 hours, the second week can be 5 hours, and before you know it, after like 6 weeks, you are at like zero. And now you just progressively just deload. You don't have to like do the entire bar. Like imagine going into the gym the first time and expecting to bench press 100 kg. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to progressively deload, progressively overload up to that final bar of success where you're not doing any of these bad habits, right? So that is the mindset that I want you to have. So the overall rules: no 1 hour of video games, none of this. But that goal is for the highest version of you, not the version of you right now. Because you right now is quite frankly a loser and no progress in your life. So basically, you can't just expect to do the things that your future self would be able to do if he followed my advice. So you're gonna have to progressively just deload. Do less every single week. So if you're a video gamer and you've played like 21 hours per week average, try just play 15 next week. Maybe 16, maybe 17, right? Just lower it every single week. And then you will get to a point where it will be so low. And that is the end goal. And then by that point, when you get to that point, you will get so much like motivation again, that drive, that life energy that's been missing from you this entire time. Do you know why? Because you've been doing the bad habits and not the good ones. So first step, dopamine detox in the method I just told you, by progressively deloading and reducing weekly. That is the summary of step 1. Now, step 2, add in good habits. So let me just make a list of the good habits that you need, the foundational habits that you need. So first and foremost, you need meditation. I spelled that wrong. Meditation. Meditation. Yeah, that's good. Meditation, reading, journaling, specifically gratitude journaling, gym, and sleep. These are the foundational habits. I don't know if you can see that. Those are the foundational habits, right? So you will do them. You will do these foundational habits. You will add them and you will use the progressive overload mindset. So before I was talking about progressive deload because you've had like your weight of bad habits is 100 kg. It's like going from 100 kg to 80 kg to 70 kg because you are deloading the bad habits. You are reducing the bad habits. Now you've got the good habits and you overload these good habits. So what I want you to do is implement these habits, right? And I will tell you a very simple method to be able to do all of these habits. Do not add all of these habits at once. Do not add all of these habits at once. I know for the type of person you are highly ambitious, but you don't have the motivation to achieve your desire, your goal, right? So this is going to hurt your ego. Do not add all the 5 habits at once. Add one habit that I'm going to suggest to you, and then build up to a good level in that habit, and then add another habit, and then build up a good level in that habit, and then do that, right? So I want you to start off with the foundational habit of meditation. Now, what is meditation? It is mindfulness. Your whole life it's like you have been AFK, like away from keyboard. It's like a video game term, right? You have been AFK from your own life. You have been mindless. You don't know what you're doing with your life, right? So meditation will make it so that you are more aware of what you are actually doing. And meditation is the single best productivity hack that anyone can tell you is meditation, because it will make your brain faster, stronger, and it will make you smarter, right? And it will grow your prefrontal cortex. Imagine your prefrontal cortex as like a body in the gym that you're meant to grow. Meditation will target the prefrontal cortex heavily, so you're going to do meditation. Now, start off with 1 minute, because you are not going to be able to do 1 hour at once like I can. So start off with 1 minute of meditation. 1 minute. And just have a habit tracker. This is what I've been doing, right? So basically, you write a habit that you want to get really consistent in. Right now, you only have meditation, but then you can add other things, right? So here's meditation. That's meditation. And every time you do 1 minute, tick the box. Tick the box. And once you've got a whole streak of meditation ticked, then you can move on to journaling, reading, and so on, right? So that's how you do it. Start with meditation. How do you meditate? I will give you a very brief summary of how to meditate. There is 4 steps to meditation, and I will write them down on this whiteboard, right? So, step 1, it is a cycle, by the way. So, step 1, focus on the breath. Step 2, my drawings are fucking shit. Lose focus. So this is the step that happens unconsciously. You don't really think about losing focus, but that is step 2. Step 3, realize you lost focus. And step 4, you refocus. Refocus. That is the 4-step process to meditation. First, you focus on the breath, right? You lose focus on the breath. You realize you lost focus on the breath, and then you bring it back. You bring the attention back to the breath. And every time you do that, it is 1 rep for your prefrontal cortex. This part of your brain that is extremely smart and intelligent and only desires the best for you. That is the 4-step process to meditation. After you do that, do that for 1 minute. Set a timer on your phone. Set a timer on your phone, and when that 1 minute rings, that's it. You tick the box, and that will give you positive momentum, because it's like a snowball effect. Let me draw the snowball effect. So you have a small snowball. It rolls and rolls and rolls. This is amazing drawing, bro. You have a small snowball, and it rolls, and by the time you get to the end, it is very big. That is because you start small. Here is your 1 minute of meditation. You go down, you keep ticking the boxes, increasing, progressively overloading. This week you're doing 1 minute, then you're doing 2 minutes, and then you keep going, and at a point you'll reach 1 hour, and that is your entire goal, right? My forehead's getting sweaty, bro. So that is how you can build positive momentum and finally improve your life. So start with meditation, then go on to reading, then go on to journaling. So reading, for example, will be 1 page today and then 2 pages tomorrow. And it's like just progressively overload. Build the skill up, and eventually you'll come at a point where you don't do any of the bad habits. You do all of the good habits, and you will be preaching to your friends who are Jeffreys like you, who are stupid and retarded like you were, and you will be telling them to get onto this path. Then you will finally realize that you've been surrounded by the wrong people, and you will quit being friends with these people, and that is your upward trajectory. When you listen to me, your life will go up. And there is your full guide. Full guide. My throat's getting kind of dry. Whew. The more you do that, that is your full guide to self-improvement. You start this path. You acknowledge that now you are on self-improvement. It's a new year, and you are going to get better, and you will improve your life forever. You will never want to go back to that version of you who was doing the bad habits. And that's when you will realize the true purpose of life is just growth. Everything living grows. And it is time for you to take responsibility via taking action through my videos and my advice. Subscribe to the channel to get more valuable no bullshit guides just like this one, and just improve your life forever. I hope that video has helped you and given you an insight on how your life actually works, how motivation actually works, and why you've been so unmotivated this entire time. Because I wish someone just told me this quicker, faster. So, I hope I've given you the utmost value, and I have. And that will change your life if you take it seriously. Subscribe to the channel if you want more no bullshit guides just like this one. And I will see you in the next one.